Welcome to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast with Janis R. Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as the angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist, here on the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. Did you know that your mind creates meaning for things that happen in your life? Did you know that you can change what anything means to you at any point in time, no matter what's happened in your life? Today I want to talk about how powerful your mind is and how your reality is determined by how your mind perceives what you experience. And this is perhaps one of the most significant challenges that I help people with, learning how to perceive things in a different way that brings them more joy. And each one of us is conditioned by society, family, and our own decisions, among probably lots of other things, to experience things in a particular way. Your job is to figure out how you are experiencing your life that in a way allows you to feel good or not. Does that make sense? So you got to figure out if how you're experiencing your life allows you to feel good or not. And the challenge with that is that your conscious mind is going to tell you you're good, right? Like, you'll say, oh, I know I'm smart. I know I'm attractive. I know I've got self-worth. I know that I'm fine. Right? And you'll believe that, hey, oh my gosh, I've done the work. I'm good. And then you get triggered. Then you begin to have some sort of feeling about something that caused you pain, right? You may feel anger. You may feel sadness. You may feel rejection, right? Whatever the trigger is. And that signals that you haven't dug deep enough into your subconscious beliefs and patterns to identify the ones that don't serve you. Let's take betrayal, for example. I think that's something that most people have experienced in their life, right? So let's say that you've experienced betrayal at one or several points in your life. If that's the case, then you have got to understand that unless you've done the work to bring your subconscious beliefs about that to light and cleared them, your programming will create your everyday reality through this lens of betrayal and mistrust and pain, right? So you're going to filter everything through that lens. Now, typically, when someone has not done their work around betrayal and instead tries to, let's say, compartmentalize and bury it deep down and say to themselves, oh, I'm not going to let this get in the way of my next relationship, somewhere, somehow, it shows up in a hair trigger type of way. It's almost, the hair trigger is like something happens and boom, you have this reaction. You don't even have a moment to think. It just, boom, you're in that belief. Something somewhere will trigger you, and maybe you're in a relationship, for example, a new one, and you think you've buried your pain deep enough that it won't bleed into your new relationship. In fact, you even say, I'm not going to let this bleed into my new relationship. I have packed it away so well, tied it up with a bow, and put it so far underneath the ground, I'm good. I could totally compartmentalize this. Then your partner does something that on their end is entirely malice-free. And they're just being themselves and they do something. But to you, they've just done something to you that's reminiscent of what the other people in your life who have betrayed you have done. And it sets you off. The other person, your new partner, is completely unaware. They're just being themselves and they have no idea what triggers you, right? So you get set off. And then you get mad. and maybe you react, or maybe you shut down, or maybe you become cold to them, right? Maybe you shut them out for a while, or you avoid them so that you can let your mind get carried away with all the justifications, trying to, quote unquote, I'm just trying to make sense of this, right? With all the justifications about how their behavior has qualified itself into the betrayal that you've experienced in the past. You're making it fit. Does that make sense? Instead of looking at it and going, is my perception accurate? And that's one of the things I want you to think about, is that when you're triggered, your job isn't to make the trigger true. Your job is to look at the false reality that you have and look at, in what way am I trying to make what's triggered me true? And if that's the case, am I accurate? And again, when we get in our thinking mind, we convince ourselves that we're right because it feels so real, right? It feels so real. So therefore, it must be real. No. When you're triggered and you've got unresolved stuff, it's going to be this kind of fight or flight thing. And that only comes when we're in panic and we believe we're in imminent harm. And 99% of the time we are not. So 99.999% of the time, it's a trigger based on your unresolved stuff from the past. Okay? So I'm going to encourage you not to make it fit your belief system. I'm going to encourage you to ask you to question your triggers. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. Okay? Is this starting to make sense? Right? So you allow your subconscious beliefs to determine everything about everyone, and that's your singular filter, right? If someone does something that's remotely related to what you've experienced in the past that's negative, and you haven't worked on clearing what's underneath for you, then anything anyone does that's remotely related to your unresolved pain will trigger you, and you will never shift into a healthy version of that, right? You will never shift it to a really fully healthy version of a relationship, and especially if we're talking about betrayal, right? People do betray other people. You can't prevent what other people do, but you sure as heck can decide how you're going to choose to filter what you experience, right? So that you're at peace with yourself and that other people don't trigger you. You see, we continually erase, distort, and generalize reality because of our internal filters, such as our identity, who we believe we are, the beliefs we have, right? What we believe about betrayal or money or relationships or self-image. I mean, anything. We generalize and erase and distort based on decisions and memories and languages, right? And states of mind, the way we talk about things, which is language, and our state of mind. So if we're in a resourceless state of mind, fear, anxiety, worry, anger, all those lower energy feelings, then we're going to filter everything through that versus a powerful, resourceful, peaceful, neutral perception. Okay? And this is what determines how we experience reality. You see, you have beliefs, and this is your filter system, which is the lens through which you process all of your experiences. And if that filter system is corroded, unhealthy, moldy with all this past pain, and riddled with the scars of unhealed wounds, then you'll constantly believe that people are out to get you and they're out to hurt you and they're not trustworthy. When in fact, the truth is that it's not about other people, because we know people show up as your messengers, they show up as your teachers. It's that you haven't done the work to get clear and right with yourself, to shift your filter, to change the filter, to eliminate the beliefs, to become aware of them and then eliminate them. And so the two things I really want you to define today are, one, the limiting beliefs that you have on a regular basis about anything that holds you back. Things like, I want to change my life, but I'm too scared of what it's going to require of me. Or if I change my life, what am I going to lose? Or I can't show up on social media because people will judge me. Or all of my romantic partners have betrayed me, so I can't trust anyone I date not to hurt me in some way. Are you getting this now? So I want you to write everything down. And again, any part of your life, let's say you have money challenges. I can't seem to ever make enough money. Whenever I get money, I always call in something that takes it away from me. I never get paid what I'm worth. I never have consistent income. If it comes from your body image, I can never be at my goal weight. Even if I get to my goal weight, people won't still find me attractive, right? I'm trying to think of what else. I'm sure there'll be others that come to me. I have this great business idea, but I don't think anybody will ever be interested. Or I'm just not good enough. So write down all of your limiting beliefs across the board. I don't care how many pages you write. I really don't care. Get them out. Look, I've done this work for years, and I still do the work every day. Every day I do this work because there are beliefs that come up for me that are still challenging. And so every time also that I up level, and you'll notice this in your life, every time you try to reach a new you, or you try to step into a new level of yourself, you're going to have a new devil. The new limiting beliefs show up. So this is lifelong work, so don't be discouraged. And I'm just letting you know that that's okay, because you're human and you have an ego. And that ego is going to screw with your head because it wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you protected. There's a benefit to holding on to limiting beliefs. It's called secondary gain. And if you're insightful enough, you'll realize that if I hold on to this belief, it keeps me safe, it keeps me small, and it doesn't allow me to expand, right? So your ego is going to mess with your head and cause you to believe all sorts of things that are not helpful, so it can keep you safe. And that's why you got to get them out of your head and onto paper or on your computer. Write them all down. And you might at the beginning have pages and pages and pages of them. And that's actually a good thing. You're getting in touch with the truth of the beliefs that you have. You're not judging them, but the ones that you have on autopilot that just swim underneath the surface, right? And that's what you want to get to. Next, I want you to look at each belief and notice where you feel that in your body. Okay, take your time with each belief. Notice where it shows up in your body. And they may all show up in the same place, and that's okay. But they may take different spots in your body. Then once you've located where the energy lives in your body, right, I want you to rate the intensity of your feeling out of 10, where 10 is the most severe. The goal is to clear the emotional charge of your beliefs so that they no longer have a hold on you. It's not going to be enough just to notice the energy and rate it, but and I'm not an expert in these next pieces, but I know that there are experts out there, and I know there are YouTube examples, YouTube videos, things you can do to process the energy, like EFT, hypnosis, and subconscious reprogramming. Somehow we've got to figure out a way to eliminate the emotional charge so that you can reprogram your subconscious into having and holding on to the beliefs that serve you. The goal is to reduce and eliminate the emotional charge so that you can change your trigger response from active to inactive and neutral. And you get to reframe these unhelpful thoughts and beliefs into useful ones, right? This brings me to the second thing I want to define today. I want you to define today. So for each belief you write down, next to it, after you've rated it, identify thoughts and beliefs that support you, right? And likely they'll be the opposite. Okay? So not in terms of true or not true. I don't want you to go into, well, it's not true for me. I may say that I'm fat and nobody will love me, and then all of a sudden I'm thin and everyone loves me. And your ego's going to go, that's a crock of shit. I'm not asking you to do that. What I'm asking you to do is look at the beliefs you have and come up with a belief that you can own, right? And it may be, let's say, for example, around weight. If you feel overweight and not acceptable, you can say, you know what? I'm at my ideal weight and I feel good. Or I know that I can make decisions that will help me get to my ideal weight. Or I am happy and healthy just the way I am. Okay? So for each belief you write down next to it, identify the thoughts and beliefs that support you, right? You want to identify the useful and helpful thoughts. Even if, let's say, your mind can't entirely grasp them, what I'm asking you to do is shift your focus from what the automatic negative beliefs are to actually being able to consider something different. And you'll know if a thought is helpful if it allows you to feel good. And any thought that doesn't allow that, it's a false belief, and that false belief needs to change. Your goal is to cultivate a filter through which life feels good to you. Anything that triggers a negative response from you, anger, fear, worry, doubt, etc., needs to be shifted and let go of, right? And you want to be as trigger-free as you possibly can, right? At least that's what I work towards. That's the goal. If I'm triggered by something, I sit back and I go, okay, I wonder what's in it for me. What do I need to learn? How do I neutralize this? Right? And you'll notice and you'll know that your perception is starting to change or has changed into a healthier one when you're far less triggered than ever. And when someone does something that is familiar, right? That's familiar to something in the past, you're like, oh, isn't that interesting that they did that? That kind of reminds me of something that happened at this time back in the day. Look, I'm not even fazed by it. I'm unbothered. What I know is that that's them, not me. And that you just know that for sure. So pay attention to what triggers you and when your body has a visceral reaction to something someone else does. This is your cue to do energetic and emotional cleanup, because whatever it is that you're believing, it is not serving you. It is false. If you're triggered, you have a belief you need to deal with. That's the work. This is how you change the filter through which you experience your reality. I hope this has been helpful for somebody. You might want to listen to this 2 or 3 more times to really understand it, which is fine. But let it sink in and do the work so that you can become as least triggered as possible. I wish you a blessed day, a wonderful week, and as always, live intuitively.
Thanks for listening to The Intuitive Therapist. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend. And be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.